a bit earlier than what we went to, but we have to, in order to have a full footing. Let's start on the very top on Kuf Mudal. I'm going to the top line. Ak, we're talking about Ak. Machshava Duma de Ak is bitul b'mtzius, has a fundamental element of bitul. Bitul b'mtzius means it doesn't have even its own identity. It's present only because its host is present, so to speak. And it's in total unity with the Ein Sof. And here is where we have to focus in. It's a very subtle recognition, but it is there. That even though it's bottled bimitzius, that its presence is not a real presence. So if it's not present, so why is it bottled? It's not bottled. There's nothing there. So we no. There is in machshava haduma de'ak. There is everything. That's why we spent on machshava. Machshava is that which identifies things in thought. In thought, things are identified. Although they're identified within an encompassment, but they are identified. This is the motion that we gave, which is an appropriate motion and useful. Excuse me. It's important to understand this in you. That when we perceive the entire world, and we're totally focused on just on the entirety, we're not focused on any of its content. We are definitely aware that there is a content. So except we're not focused on it, we're not distracted by it. And the reason we're not focused on it because the content is drawn from that which encompasses it. I don't think we touched upon this Nakuda before, so I want to elaborate on this. Way back when, we explained that take the same piece of furniture, the same table, and put it outside of a home, it loses its influence. It still has its physical structure, but its definition that it's a table to accommodate human get together, it doesn't have it. Even though it's the same structure. This clearly makes us aware that any pnimi, any piece of furniture, any an individual identity element must have that which encompasses it in order to give it a sense of reality. On its own, just a physical structure. It doesn't even can draw up the thought of the service that it can provide. It is the makif that gives identity to the pnimi. Although the pnimi is an actual structure, a chair is a chair. clearly made for comfort to sit, but you don't even recognize it as a sitting entity if it is outside of a content. Outside of the content, you see it as a piece of wood in a certain form. What does this tell us? This is the important thing. Now, the content, this makif, inherently contains everything that is ever put there. And when you put something, when you put a chair in the room, you're not, so to speak, intruding upon the room. No, you're just revealing what the room is. Because the makif contains everything that eventually surfaces from it, and it contains inherently in it. That's what a makif is. What I'm saying. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not to be misunderstood, misinterpreted. A makif is just an open space without any meaning, without any significance. Not at all correct. And here is where we have to ask ourselves. Yes, it's true. Makif is not just open space. There is a significance to it. But it is open space. You don't make it. So where does the significance come from?
You don't make the open space.
You don't make open space.
Why do we mention that?
I mean, why do we recognize that there is significance to it? You never engaged in creating it. We recognize that there is significance. Like I said, a table is in a room, in the space of the room. A table in the open sky says nothing. How come we have this recognition? How come we say that the makif is significant and it has content inherently? The question is, where does that content come from? No kidding. Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back. You still red?
Working on the white.
Okay, so in deference of the guest that just entered, we're talking about makif. And we're saying makif is that which encompasses and allows everything to be inserted there. But these insertions are not intruders. The insertions are revealing that which is inherently contained in the makif. Without going into the details of continuous. Now, our question is now, where does the makif get that which it represents? It is simply open space, undefined. Its function has not been identified as a function. It's just a presence. Brother. Hello? Oh, sorry, I didn't realize. Okay,
why not just keep him there?
Huh?
Why not just keep him right there?
Maybe somebody else. I'm going to be connected. Okay, it doesn't.
Like who?
Okay, here it is.
conference ID. Welcome. Thank you. You are now entering the conference room. To exit the conference room, press star star. For help, press star 9. Our participant number 2.
Okay.
Rabbi PALTIEL,
Yes, sir.
as long as I interrupted you anyway, maybe this is out of line here, but given everything you say about Makif now, what is the difference between Makif and Makar?
Okay, we'll take it up when we get to that corner. All right, so therefore, as we said like this, the makif contains everything, everything that eventually surfaces from it. So when we are developing makif, there's somebody using it and putting things in there. We understand that yes, you can use it to do such a thing. Like in our marshal, makif is like the open space, the room. When you use the room, you understand that now you have identified that this room is usable in such and such a way. But initially, the original makif, which is just the presence in the world, where does that get its content? Why do we say that we recognize that the makif in the world, before it's being identified, is already full of content? But everything that in it is bottle b'mtzius. We explained what bottle means that it's not non-existent. Bottle means it exists, but it is completely subservient bottle to its container, because it represents that which contains it. But there is an entity there. If there's no entity, it's not the word bottle is not applicable. So this is the question: where do these things come there before you start using this? You can elaborate on the question more and more, but leave it at that for a moment. The answer is, this is very important. Whether something is a makif or a pnimi, whether it is makif, so to speak, the alien, something which is completely remote from world, it is all intentionally brought to be. The makif is also a creation. The makif is not an inadvertent presence because the Rebbe says here, so there's makif. The makif is a gilui elokei, an intentional gilui elokei. Therefore, this makif, as a makif at the highest level of makif, there is a purpose and a reason why this gilui is for. And ultimately, in the full extent, the gilui is so that its content should be revealed fully, and it should result in an expression, in a functional level, or complete at the lowest level. The lowest level means in a full expression. Because content, you have to understand, content does not come without somebody creating it. Something that occurs just from natural development, it doesn't have any content. This is, as we always point out, this is the phenomenal error where the world looks at world. They came up with a ridiculous perception. The world developed on its own. Evolution. One situation created the next situation. And because they came up with this idea, they lost all perception of value, right and wrong, good and evil. There is no such thing. Because there is not reality in the world existing itself. This is the fundamental, this is the source of the whole error. Nothing develops on its own, not even that which allows it to be, the space, so to speak, is also an intentional creation. There is no worldly presence on its own. As the Pasuk says, Bereshis bara Elokim hashamayim v'ha'aretz. Shamayim v'ha'aretz, which is the encompassment of the whole world, this is bara Elokim. And the Torah immediately begins to say, but this is not how it was intended. This is in its initial presence. And immediately it says, because its intent was to be, because it has a full arsenal of content, and this is what is being developed as it comes. Except that, yes, indeed, this makif is such infinity, such capacity, that you don't recognize that there is any kind of limits in it. There is no limit. But it is full of content. Bishop may say, Machshava hagduma deyak. This machshava, we explained what machshava is recognizes. In machshava, all the content is recognized on the content level. Not from a makif level, but from what is contained in it. However, in machshava hagduma, all the content is bottled b'mtzias to the alien serve that contains it, that allows it to be.
What do we mean by content?
Content means anything that world stands for.
Why should makif be full of content? Care about content?
So this one says, why should makif be full of content? Because makif is also a creation, an intended creation. It is created to contain, to house everything to provide for anything that would be useful.
Makif is kind of a way station, a mamutza towards making world.
No. Even after the world, I just want to answer your question, that we shouldn't get distracted. Even after the world is created, it continues to be dependent on the makif. It's not a way station.
Okay, but it is a creation for the sake of worldly setting.
You could say that, because we identify with the content more readily. We can believe, we can attach it and so forth. But that's not the case. The real case is that the makif has its own significance. Namely, coming back to our little Misharim, a home has rooms, and rooms have different furnishings. Yes, they are useful so that you will have a place to sit and so forth. But there is a significance in the fact that you're sitting in your home rather than sitting in the street. This is not just to provide the ability to sit. it brings all the details together. Like, what is a minion? A minion is 10.
Wait, but that mashal indicates why the makif is of use, is of more than use, is of importance to the house and its content.
That's right,
But
exactly right.
Right, but we were looking at why makif seems to have value unto itself.
That's a value. It provides
for world
the basis. What?
For
it provides a reality.
Yeah. But unto
The Shekhinah, that's the minion. It's beyond the 10 individual people. Beyond the content. It has its own thing.
it has its own thing.
What you're asking is this just another step in the Ishtalshalos that without this makif you can't continue further? And what Rabbi PALTIEL is saying is no, it's an important, significant thing in itself. Not just a part of, in order to get to the lower level, I need to get through makif. Without makif, I don't have the next step. It has its own value and own significance. That's what he's saying. It may be part of the Ishtalshalos, but that's not the only intent or the core intent, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's where I asked about it, why it cares about the content. And that's to say it has a life unto itself, but it's also made for the sake of world.
Let us again, Moshe is very helpful. A human being has seichel and midas, and then he has machshava dibur u'maisa. Thought, speech, and deed. Such a thought the other day. The real human being is the life that's in him. There's nothing compared to the neshama. But the neshama was brought down into the guf, into the world. The reason the neshama is brought down into the guf is in order to reveal what the neshama contains. Seichel and midas, and machshava dibur u'maisa.
That's what the neshama contains?
What?
That's what the neshama contains?
Yes. I mean, the neshama contains it. This is not the end of the neshama. The neshama contains it. It has this capability.
Doesn't define the neshama, but the neshama
Doesn't
has
define
it.
the neshama.
The neshama cares about speech and thought.
Even after that, you have speech and thought, and action. You are banging a hammer to build a table. And you have this capability to bang a hammer and to put the table together. Along with that, at that very same time, there's a very important superior quality. You're a living human being. And if you did not have an appreciation of what a table is, you could not build a table. In other words, the makif is not only a source. The makif is what gives, is the basis of all further capabilities. Like I mention all the time, there's a cheaper Hamdaberes. It speaks very clearly. Is that called speech, or is that just a fake? It's not speech. Why is it not speech? He's talking.
It's not expressing.
Because speech is supposed to be rooted. Speech is only that which is rooted in the etzem ha'neshama.
Has to have meaning, not just.
I'm speaking because I'm a human being, not because I'm able to speak. That's why a human being is called medaber. It's about seichel, medaber.
And the etzem neshama desires to be manifest in the world because of its shlichus.
That's right, because this is where things become fully revealed.
But it cares about that because was sent here to do that. I mean, why does it care if things become fully revealed? Why would it care here's a table? It's a neshama. It's here because it's a shlichus.
Yeah, because
right?
of the shlichus. Because, all right, we insist. Let's go there. Let's go there. The reason for that is, and again we have to vihine. Okay, you have to focus in. The real truth is all the qualities, all the capabilities, and all that. Why is there such a great variety? Why is there such a great reality? It is representing the divine truth. Everything represents the divine truth. Divine truth knows no limit. The expression is "L'maylo maylo ad ein ketz u'mato mato ad ein tachlis." Ultimately, all aspects occurring in the world are representing Elokus. And Elokus knows no limits. Everything is in it.
Yeah, and the Etzem Neshama wants to play its
No, it
note
is.
in
It
that
is
giant
representing. It is
orchestra.
Elokus.
What?
Not Mansu. Not because of itself. It is Elokus. As Neshama is a Neshama Elokis. It's a godly presence.
Oh, so what? So therefore, it's going to get involved in thought and speech and action.
That's right, to reveal all the richness that there is in Elokus.
Because it's kind of driven to do that, right? It's not
Because it's
not
driven
because of
to
any
that.
lacking. It's not because of any choice. It's not to accomplish anything. It's just because it's here to do its thing. It was sent here to do that.
Because until such time that you reach the point where you can put the cup on the table, it does not represent the reality that I recognize.
Neshama saying this.
Yes.
So it wants to actualize this sort of inner
What
reality.
is the reality of the cup on the table? Not that the table stands firm and it's on four legs. It is that the whole world is made to accommodate my need to put the cup down.
So it's driven to accomplish. It's very gratifying to
It's
accomplish
not
that.
driven. It has this content, the significance.
Yeah. And if it does not do that,
Something has not reached its fulcrum. Is missing.
Again, because it wants to come into fruition. It wants to have the world reflect its inner
The word
reality.
wants to. The word wants to is limiting it. It's not a wanting. It is its presence.
To put the cup down is manifesting its presence. Is that it?
A manifesting the reality of what things are.
It's manifesting the way things should be.
The way things are in essence. Then when it comes in practice, then that essence is revealed.
So in essence, there is the table and the cup and things on the sudder, and the human being is served as
Right.
he should be.
He said all the way back years ago, I said, you have a room. The minute you have the room, immediately in your mind, surface ideas, okay, this room is going to be a dining room, and here's where the table is going to stand. Even though it has not yet even begun to develop. Because in essence, all right, sir.
Let him stay
Okay,
on.
and meanwhile, no one else is on this line.
What?
No one else is in the conference.
Okay, so we'll leave it like this.
Leave it like this. Good.
Why do we have issue with the word Ratzain? for the neshama.
Because Rotzin has a beginning. There's a time when you want, and a time when you don't want. But a key does not have
A key?
a key.
A key.
But we learned that Ratzon is constant. It's constant, but it had a beginning.
We'll still, we are trying to get through over here the first line. Okay, so the one thing that we focusing today on is that the makif is not just an inadvertent container for that which you put in there. The makif is a divine creation, and it has divine significance. And because of that, it has all that content. Just as a room in a house was built by a human being, because it was built by a human being, therefore, all the furnishing that goes into the room fits into that room. Because initially it had the concept of providing support to the various things.
This is true with the neshama, that the Ratzon is not a...
No, one second.
Doesn't fit so. Doesn't sit so well.
Okay, one second. But we need to, this is what we did just a few moments ago. The makif itself is also a creation. And the creation of the makif is to provide for revealing all that the content that can come from a makif. Therefore, the makif itself, like I say, Nachshava Gduma Deyak, is bottled to a lukus. And through it, all the things that come out through Machshava is also bottled to a lukus. I'm sure we'll be through it up again. Let me just go to the third line, which we already went several times. Rak, except sheha-bitul, that this bitul, sheha-bitul hazeh, that this bitul, that all the worlds are bottled to Olakus, to Eri Seif, Shemach Mastir Kema Diak, that is the derivative, an effect of the Tzir Kema Diak, of the upsending Koima, because they contain between, you've seen Adam Kadmon, who behelem oid. This beetle is an extreme concealment. What does it mean, concealment? Sheina murgash b'nivroim klal habitul hazeh. The nivroim do not sense this beetle. The Indian that the body don't sense beetle, what does that mean? What do they sense? They sense their own mitzvahs. So even though they come around to be subservient to it, but that's their own intellect that directs them to be subservient. It's not that they're one with that which contains them. They're separate entities, but they feel, but they know that to be bottled. There's their own intelligence and so forth. But it's not sensing them as a mitzvah, that they, in their own orientation, in their own sense of themselves, they're a mitzvahs. They're not bottled mitzvahs. They're not alakus. The motion for this, again, watch it in a simple physical thing. This table is in this room because it's a room, not because there's space for it. The table does not recognize that. The table is a table. Oh. Oh, Moshe.
In person.
What?
In person.
Welcome to the... Thank you. We're now entering the conference room. To exit the conference room, press star. For help, press *9. Participant number 1.
Participant number 1 just dropped out.
All right, there's something you have to...
The table in the room. You're saying it's not aware of what? It's not aware of the room?
That's right.
Okay.
Although, what makes the table a table?
Right.
It is the fact that it's in the room. The same table in the street is not a table.
You have to mute it.
Why is this makif? So it has everything, and it's bottled to its creator. And
It's
now,
not, Makiv is not bottling, representing. Okay, go ahead, fine.
we're saying, we're using the term all three, but the makif itself is bottled mitzvah.
Okay, yeah.
So what does it accomplish that it's in between
You have to mute your phone.
the creator and what's ultimately going to come out?
Ah.
What is it accomplishing? They would also still be...
No, this is very, very, very good, very good. This is what we spoke about for a long time, that in Akev, in Machshava Al-Duma de Akev, there are two madrigas. That in Makiv, in Makiv, there are two madrigas. There's the Makiv as it is, for within the source, within the Elokus itself, the Etzem itself. And then the Makiv as it is, manifest outside of the Etzem.
Say that again, please.
It's both after
Saying it again is not going to help. Let's get down to again to a motion.
After the Tzimtzum. This is two levels in the
One
Makiv.
second, one second. We have down to earth emotion which we can relate to. A human being, as I said many times, a human being is B'tzalmei Kidmusei. Is a very rich, profound creature, representing Mamash a godly presence in the world. To the extent that he has the divine mandate to own pieces of the world. No other creature can own anything in the world. The human being can own. By divine is the mandate. This is mine, this is his, and you cannot infringe on each other. It's a phenomenal thing. I don't want to elaborate, but it's obvious. When a human being owns a piece of the world, owns a piece of reality, this ownership, I said, is a divine mandate. This divine mandate to the human being, we can identify at two levels. Before he came to own a piece of land, and after he came to own a piece of land. Before he came to own a piece of land, he represents a divine presence in the world. As far as the world is concerned, it's not affecting the world at all. Like I mentioned, let's go back to this. If the creation, the Rebbe created the world in 6 days, the human being was created at the end of the 6th day. If the Rebbe had started creation at the just before the human being. Friday morning, the second afternoon, the human being wasn't created. No human being in the world. It's the same world, with all the variety that's in there. A huge variety. Creatures are infinite. A rich world, but there's no human being. So what does the world stand for? Before the human being came to be, everybody understood there's nothing.
Stands for the Democratic Party.
There's nothing there. Why? It's so great. The reason there's nothing there is because it stands for nothing. There's nobody that says what this is all about. The world does not identify itself. Therefore, it's not a presence. Which means that the human being, by his very advent, by his very presence in the world, changes the whole picture of the world before he begins to do anything. Before he goes on to own, he doesn't do anything. Just by his presence in the world, he has changed the entire materials of the world. He brought significance to the world. How? He hadn't started doing it.
Before he owned the land.
Before, this is the makif at the highest level. His very presence already has an effect. On the makif level, well, this is the makif in, so to speak, on a higher level of makif, as part of the answer. Why is there makif? Because there is a human being. There is a human in the world that it's therefore the world is real. Before he even began to speak and to develop it. When he starts speaking and developing it, this is the next level. This is where he begins to reveal what value he attributes to the world.
That's what the Helm is?
To me?
That's what you're saying? Helm Oid?
Oh, so that's right. This
It's not even, the world doesn't even recognize that has meaning or doesn't have meaning. That's what you mean, right?
That's right. The Behelem Oid is true even afterwards. Even after that is revealed and it be created now, still the entities, the pnimi element in the world does not sense its bitul to the Holocaust. And therefore, what happens in the world? Everything begins to pursue its own interests. Forget about what he stands for, where his mitzias and his life comes from. It loses sight of it until he begins to hit him. I got lost in this big world.
But the makif itself also isn't margish, it's bittul. It just has it. It's just bittul b'mitzias. It's not a hargosh at all.
It's not a hargosh. Makif is representative of its source.
So the first place you really have bittul, in the sense of actual bittul, is after this.
That's right.
Mitzias, and after this world, and then there could be bittul.
Yeah, but nevertheless we refer to that also bitul, even while it is internal, because there is a content. Okay, this is okay.
True bittul can only be with intelligence. No, someone has to be mizbayin to realize to become batul. Otherwise, it's just bittul natural. That's the difference, right? A horse is batul to its owner not because it thinks about it. It just is.
This is the bitul as it's contained within the makif. Then there is bitul as it comes on an individual level. This is what the Rebbe says. On the individual level, it's not sensed. Then he has to discover it.
And without it, it's not real bittul.
That
It means it's self-initiated bittul.
yeah.
Someone is, yeah.
The bitul is there, but it doesn't. That's why it's called. That's why there is bchira, there is an avoider, because he does not. The bitul is there, but it doesn't come to his conscious recognition at all, even though it's completely there.
When it does come to his conscious recognition, this is related to or because of the fact that there is bittul in the makif. In other words, even when it's not hargosha, if there wouldn't be bittul over there, he couldn't ever come to a really recognition, or not.
Here. I don't know if you have the time. I don't have the time. I don't know anything anyway. You're driving down the road. You're driving down the road.
I'm going to stop.
No. No, don't start with the Gaba.
Hey, I'm only kidding. You're driving down the road.
You're driving down the road. Presumably you're driving down the road and they're following the controls of the road because safety requires that you should drive down according to
To remain on this call, press 1.
No, it's me. Just
That's very good.
close.
according to the controls of the road. That is the way you perceive it. You follow the rules of the road for your own reason, for your own purposes. The real truth is that if you don't follow the route, the controls of the road is going to protest. It's going to throw you out.
Bullet.
It's not. You think that you're doing it because of what you perceive, but it's not true. The market itself will protest. All right.
We're learning now in Sharichet, in Tanya, about the Achdus, about the Yichud of Hashem, and how the world is bottled by Metzias. So do we learn there also that it exists, but it's subservient, or are you saying from the higher level it doesn't even exist?
The Rebbe explains in the Tanya. It exists not as an entity unto itself. It exists because of the market. So this is the important thing. This is market is not only market. It's market and pnimi. In other words, it has the pnimi is a message from the market. Why is there furnishings in the house? Because it's a house, not because you need the furnishings.